Knowles here, Pemberton Fish Finder. We're down at Spud Valley Sporting Goods, 1380 Birch Street in downtown Pemberton. So you're wanting to get into float fishing. We're going to go over some quick riggings for you so that it'll produce some more fish for you. It's getting close to steelhead season and we want to make sure that you're rigged up properly. We can always go over this stuff with you in store at Spud Valley Sporting Goods at 1380 Birch Street, downtown Pemberton. So cameraman, come on in here close. So we've made a little cheat sheet. We'll attach that into the video. But you're going to start out with a 20-pound main line, which is mono filament. You're going to start with a bobber stop, which is made from 20 to 30-pound Dacron, which is also fly line backing. You're going to go to a fluorescent salmon bead, a size 4. And that's going to act as a stop that sits up against your bobber stop, between your bobber stop and your float. Then you're going to have a through float, inline sinker, 30 inches of 15-pound fluorocarbon, and then of course at the end you're going to attach your fly, lure, jig, or blade. Colorado blades are pretty efficient in catching steelhead as well, plus trout. Hey, nothing wrong with a 24-inch bycatch on a big bull trout. Anyhow, let's go over these things. We'll put it into practice so that you guys can see how we do this. So we start out with our 20-pound main line, which is attached to our reel. To make a bobber stop, to stop your float, we take a small piece of 30-pound, in this case it's 30-pound fly line backing, which is Dacron. We're going to tie a nail knot at the end of the monofilament. So you lay the two together. In this case, I've got a small piece of the end of a pen. You could use a chunk of anything that's hollow. You could use a pen or nail as well. But these make it really easy to tie your knots. So you start off by making a couple wraps with your left hand side. Lock that piece of the knot down and straighten out so that you want to wrap it back on itself. So at this point, you keep it nice and tight. Notice I'm pinching it in my fingers to keep that knot from sliding or becoming dislodged. At this point, the piece that you're wrapping goes back through the center of the tube. Pull it somewhat snug, swap fingers, and the end that you fed through, you want to pull this piece of plastic out of the hole. So you're going to pull that out of there. I usually use my teeth. And at this point, you want to anchor this piece and pull it at the same time. And that, you just want to bring it up snug, is a nail knot. Super simple. So you want to check and see how this thing slides. It's got a little resistance. Pull it down tighter a little bit. You don't want it moving too crazy easy, but it's free. So at that point, we've got the right tension set. You want to cut some of these little tags off so that they're not getting caught in your guides as they're going through. But you want to leave a little bit there because over time it might loosen. And at that point you would grab the ends again with your fingers and probably your teeth on the short end. Slide it up your line to whatever depth it is that you're looking for to achieve. And then we'd go to the small number 4 salmon bead. I've got one out of the package already. So we'll slide that up as well onto our main line. And that just slides down the line, down to the bobber stop. We've got a through float. For different applications, you might want weighted, not weighted, depending on what you're doing. But that's another discussion. So we've got the through float. We run the through float down, and that's going to sit down on the bobber stop and the bead. See how that works? It'll stop. That's the whole thing. So as you achieve the depth that you want, say it's 10 feet long, it's very difficult to cast 10 feet. But if your bobber slides down to your gear and you can reel it up to approximately 30 inches or 35 inches, it makes it a lot easier to cast. And that's the whole reasoning behind a through float and your bobber stop. So now what we're going to do is rig this with an inline sinker. So what we've done here is we've bought some bell sinkers, a split ring, and we've attached 2 barrel swivels on either side. So now you have a inline sinker. Super simple to do. We attach one end to the 20-pound monofilament, attach it with an improved clinch knot through the two, lock it down, clean up the ends. And now there's a lot of different options when it comes to a leader. They sell leader materials. Myself, I am a huge fan of Seaguar, and I'm also a huge fan of P-Line. Both are very good products when it comes to knot strength and abrasion resistance. If you're running a mainline of 20-pound test, I do not suggest you go any more than 15 pound on your leader, just for the simple reason that if you hook up on the bottom, you're not losing your float and everything above your inline sinker. So today we're going to be running about a 30-inch section. I don't suggest running any lighter than 12 pound, just for the simple reason that you don't want to overfight fish. So 12 or 15, personally I use 15, because your leader material is going to be hitting the bottom pretty aggressively. You're going to have to check your gear to make sure that it's not all banged up. Test your knots, that way you're not just sticking fish and leaving them in their lip. So on the other end of the inline sinker, you're attaching your chunk of 12 or 15 pound fluorocarbon, again with an improved clinch knot, which I missed. We go through there, attach that end, attach it, and you want to achieve anywhere from 24 to 30 inches. That's about 30, 32 inches. And depending on what you're fishing, just because flies are made specifically for fly fishing doesn't mean that you can't attach them underneath a float. A small minnow pattern like this can be very deadly under a float, and you can achieve much longer drifts, cover a lot more water with a float rod, either by a bait casting reel or a center pin. Small little fleshy patterns like this are deadly when it comes to the steelhead. Another popular is provided by Hawkins Industries or Hawkins Fishing, is just a simple jig head and made it to a pink worm. And in that case, you can eliminate your center or your inline weight and just run the 1/4 ounce or 1/2 ounce jig head, and that'll provide enough weight to keep your stuff down on the bottom. But that's another discussion. But today what we're going to do is run an inline fly, because they are very effective, and you're probably more likely to catch bycatches as well. So say there's bull trout or rainbow trout or coastal cutthroat in your streams as well as steelhead, this might be a good option for you to try. But hopefully you guys learned something today, and if you have any further questions, come on down to Spud Valley Sporting Goods, and make sure you're always pinching them barbs. Single barbless in all streams in British Columbia. Anyhow, that's your pro tip for the day.